Hey everybody, it's Renee Cormier from the Fractional Referral Network, and I'm here with FRNer, longtime FRNer, Michelle Silva. She was one of my early joiners, which makes me incredibly grateful that she's still with me and with us, and alive and well and pumping along and doing everything she should be doing. So welcome aboard, Michelle. Thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you. Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to start. I'm going to fire off a few questions. I'll let you explain who you are and what you do and all of that stuff. So the first question is, who are you? And what kind of work do you do as a fractional?
Well, as you said, I'm Michelle Silva, so thank you for having me on here. I'm the founder of the Savvy CMO, and I do fractional work in the marketing space, so fractional chief marketing officer. And I really partner with visionary leaders, primarily women, and some select men. I have a few male clients right now that I really enjoy working with, and I think that's the biggest piece. But the main thing of what I do is I basically tame that chaos of marketing. Everybody's a little overwhelmed with marketing, like, well, what is it? Because it can be so many things. And so I also apply my proprietary Rev growth model, and that's RREV growth ecosystem. And basically, it means that I'm grounded in growth, and that means RREV is revenue, relationships, ethics, and values. And I've been in marketing since 2003. So
Good.
Just a little bit of time.
Yeah, you're not new. You only look 18.
So I'm glad I'm not 18.
So what made you decide to go fractional instead of pursuing, the traditional roles, full-time
Well, I
roles?
had been in traditional roles up until that time and was very disillusioned with many aspects of working for someone else, as many of us have as well.
Yeah.
I can hear my dog in the background. And really, I just, this last iteration was kind of a big deal for me. I had been working in corporate, and it was a very toxic culture, unfortunately. And I just really felt that it was time, and I wanted to build something that felt right. I wanted to build something that wasn't just, I'm just doing the work, but I wanted to feel like I'm doing it right. And the fractional model, I'd kind of been doing this since 2003 in various ways, fractional this or fractional that, but this, really this particular model really culminated all my years of experience kind of into one area. And I think that helped me to create that impact that I want to make with clients, and the ripple effect of them doing great things and also making an impact. So for me, it's that ripple effect that if I'm doing great things and I'm working with great clients and then they're doing the same, wow, what a great, world we're going to be in. And so
Yes.
for me, that's what felt right about this time. And so I have multiple clients right now, who, are building their own vision. As I had said, currently I have one client who, we're very busy right now working on this incredible podcast, and it's going to take off. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. And so that makes me excited. And if I'm excited about my client, then that fuels me. And then I do what I love.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing, is that's why I decided to really go from traditional to the fractional model, is to be able to have that flexibility to do what I love.
And what do you enjoy most about working as a fractional?
I think it's the diversity, because not all my clients are the same. And as I said, one client, we're going to be launching a podcast and an academy as well. So the academy will be like that second part. And I get to use all of my background. I have a background in education and, business education, actually, to be specific. I have another client that's an interior designer, and I'm excited about that project because my mom used to be an interior decorator, so I know a lot about that. And so I just get these incredible people in my life that are doing great things, as I said, and we can, work together, do this incredible, work that they hate doing the marketing and I love it. And so we get to have this partnership. And I think that's part of it too, is that, it is a partnership, but it's different than working in corporate because that doesn't usually feel like a partnership, or at least in my experience, it
Yeah.
hasn't been a very good partnership. Yes, in some cases, I've had some great, bosses um, and teammates, but I really feel that I'm grounded in what I love to do, and so my tagline is grounded in growth, profit with purpose.
Yes.
And that's about sustainability, and that's about getting that sustainable work, and and that's kind of how my framework that I'm working on was born.
Yeah. I like what you're saying about partnership, because that's exactly, you know, when you're an employee, even if you want to be a partner, or even if you are the kind of person that takes ownership of your results and the grand vision of a company, you're never
Yeah.
given the same kind of credibility. But when you come in from the outside, you have a different kind of relationship, provided you're not charging hourly. And you know what I mean? Like, how you position yourself matters. So if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
position yourself like an employee, then you're dispensable. But if you position yourself like a partner, someone who is there to move the vision forward, then the relationship is entirely different, and every conversation you have is different, and you become an asset to the company, not an expense, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so what's one challenge that you're working through right now? It's like, have you got anything that's kind of burning your ass? So to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah. I mean, I'm just growing very quickly, so I
Good.
would say right now it's scaling. And I think the thing about my Rev growth ecosystem is it is it's kind of like my go-to now.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge of am I taking all the clients on that still fit this model, that still fit um, you know, my values and my ethics, and that is kind of that North Star, if you will, where if somebody comes in, I need to always look at that North Star and ask myself, is this the work that I want to do? Is
Yeah.
this in the impact that they're wanting to achieve? Is that in alignment?
Yeah.
And I think we often get into that space where we look at clients and see dollar signs instead of, am I really going to love working with this
Yeah.
person?
Compatibility
It's as
matters,
much
right?
interviewing them as they are interviewing you. And I
Yeah.
think we get lost sometimes in, oh, I really want this client. Well, I've had those clients that did not align. It was the client from hell, or
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, and it didn't feel good for me, and I'm sure it didn't feel good for them.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think the challenge for anybody is finding those right clients at the right time. And as I grow, I'm still also figuring out, um, like I said, how how am I helping them move the needle and myself at the same time,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's the challenge, I think, sometimes,
That
is not getting lost.
that compatibility piece is critical, especially if you want to be seen as an asset, right? And
And long
and
term,
and
right?
long
I mean,
term, right? So
otherwise
you don't
it's a
really,
one and done.
yeah, yeah, and you don't want to have that kind of contentious relationship with a client. Like, that's awful. So you want to be able to be with a client that where you feel you're really bringing value, and they appreciate what you're bringing to the table, because there's
Yes.
you got to have chemistry with people. It's like any relationship, right?
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to be an ill fit, or that client to be an ill fit for your having a clear vision. Like, when we talk about what an ideal client is, we often
Yeah.
think, well, someone in such and such a space and blah blah blah. But the real ideal client is deeper than that.
Yes.
What's their mindset like, right? Because
Yeah.
that matters. That matters. What's the
Yes.
culture like in the company? Is this something
Mm-hmm.
that you want to change, or that you can change? Is that part of your mandate, or is it something that you can deal with, is it the kind of place you want to be? You know what I mean? All of that matters.
Yes.
All of that matters.
Absolutely. And you're spot on about the culture piece, because that's that often unsaid part. It's like you can go through and ask all of the revenue questions, and generally in marketing and other conversations when you're bringing on a client, it starts off with revenue. People want to make money. I know that, and I think that is important, but that's where my part of my tagline is, grounded in growth. But then the second part, profit with purpose.
Yeah.
And that's kind of leads into those culture questions.
Yeah. You mentioned a little earlier about wanting to scale. I don't know if you've seen, there's a scale readiness advisor in the classroom. Have you had a look at that?
I haven't had a chance to look at that. I know that you and I were, chatting a little bit about that, but that is something that I think
So
is
that
really
might be
important.
something very helpful. And there's
Yes.
also an advisory board that you can.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Yes.
like there are a lot of really cool things that I've been popping in the classroom, and I would like people to take a look at them, because they could be incredibly helpful to their businesses.
Yes. And you put
So
out some incredibly useful information and tools. I have taken you up on some of them myself, so I think it's very valuable for the group. And I think if people did take a look at those, they would see, what incredible value that you bring.
yeah,
So
I do my best. That's
I
my
know
mission.
you do great. You do
Now,
great.
you and I have a lot in common, and like in so many ways, our mindset is very much the same. And I know that I'm a continuous learner, and so are you. So tell me, what's one book or podcast or resource that you would recommend to people in the community?
Oh gosh, there's so many books right now. In fact, I'm writing my own. But
Well, that's
I
number one recommendation right there.
Yeah, right. I know. And I
Get on
was
the
up late
waiting
last
list.
night actually working on it. So we'll have a book and a workbook. So I was kind of working, kind of going back and forth, and so I will have more on that to come. But the book title is Lead Like a Compassionate Warrior. And I think
Oh,
that is the essence of me.
yes.
And so more to come on that. But as far as a book, it's a very tiny book. There's actually two that I recommend all the time. The first one that I've recommended for years, it's by Bob Berg and John David Mann, and it's called The Go-Giver. It's a
Yes.
book about sales. It's like a sales book, but you'd never even notice. I mean, it is just the, wonderful, like it has like these laws, I'll put those in air quotes. But it goes further than that. And it's always stuck with me. And I think I read that book, gosh, might have even been 20 years ago now.
Yeah, it's been out for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bob is a wonderful man. He and I are connected on LinkedIn and have had many conversations and
Oh, nice.
chats and such, and just a great human. The other book that I've recently read, it's called The Cafe at the Edge of the World. And it really made me think, because the book is about, I won't give all of it away, but there's a thread in it about, they call it PFE, like Paul, Fred, Edward, and it stands for Purpose for Existing.
Huh.
And most people, it's tiny. I mean, it's a very tiny book. I don't even know if I have it, but I think it's one of those more thought-provoking books. It's a very tiny book, but boy, it makes you think. And why am I here? Why am I fractional? Why am I doing what I do? Why do I even, like I said, exist? And so it gets into the deeper, maybe esoteric or what have you. But I think that's something, as I've gotten older, why am I here? What am I doing? And that goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of, I need to feel in alignment with my clients, and what is it that I'm doing to make an impact, and what are my clients doing to make an impact? Because it's not just a legacy, but it can be, but it's also, I think I'm at a point in my life now where I'm now that self-reflection where, what have I done with my life so far and what do I have left to do here? So great
What's
little
the
book.
name of that book again, Michelle?
It's called The Cafe at the Edge of the World.
Okay.
And it's, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a story about the meaning of life. And it's by an author called John Strzelecki.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick that
So
up.
it's this little book here.
All right, beautiful. Thank you.
And it's tiny. I mean, it's, here's my hand. It's not
Yeah.
that much bigger, and it's only got like 100 and,
It's a quick read.
a little over 100 pages.
Yeah.
So, but I think these kinds of books, even if it might not necessarily be about business, I still think it's, you're putting you into the business, whether
That's
you
right.
like it or not. And you put your whole self in the business. And I do talk about that in my own book, is that, we can be both that compassionate person and the warrior. And we tap into either one and both at the same, sometimes almost simultaneously. And you
Yeah.
can't just show up for work as, oh, I'm going to only have my work hat on. You're a whole person. Come on. I think that myth is, ridiculous. And, you can't check your feelings at the door. Sometimes you have to. I sometimes have to for, other parts of my life, but you still show up and bring all yourself in. So anyway,
Yes.
this kind of brings, some of that to my mind.
I think that knowing who you are at your core and how you can take that and incorporate it into your business. There are a lot of
Yes.
people that, have a job or a career that's nothing they've ever been passionate about. And they've managed to be sort of, do well with it because it's one of those in-demand kind of jobs or whatever. But they have it doesn't light their soul on fire. They don't get up in the morning and go, yeah, I get to do this today.
And that reminds me of that other book that we read in our book club when we read Key Person of Influence.
Yes, yes.
And there was the functional, and then there was the visionary, or I can't remember what they used in that, in that book as far as, well, it was a key person of influence.
Yes, yes.
And the differences between, you've got almost the clock punch person, and then you've got, the person who's that visionary in whatever role that they happen to be in, but they're that key person of influence, whether they're at the top or not.
I think it's important to at least love elements of your work. If you don't love all of your work, you should at least love elements of it, and you should be doing something that feels natural to you. So for me, it's the teacher in me that it doesn't matter what it is. If I know how to do something, I'm always wanting to teach somebody how to do it better or how to do something that they don't really know how to do. So it doesn't matter where I am or what I do. I probably annoy the hell out of a lot of people.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, or whatever, phrase you want to use. But I think that is important. You talk about, and other things I've noticed, and we've had this conversation too about, that square peg in a round hole. And,
That's me.
I think that's the part that is that piece that some of us have. We just have always had it. And if we keep trying to fit ourselves into that round hole, then we're that functional person, or we're that person who, isn't there's another book, I can't remember the name of the book off the top of my head, but they talked about there's, living in your comfort zone versus your zone of genius.
Yes.
And, all of these things are culminating into that same, ethos of, we have to have that core piece that lights us up. Otherwise, why even be a fractional? Why be anything? Just go, punch the clock and be done.
I think
and that's okay too.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the world doesn't need everybody to be an entrepreneur. The world needs janitors. The world needs Walmart greeters. The world needs brain surgeons and rocket scientists and everything in between. We need all of it. But it's going to work with a sense of what you're doing. If you can take the attitude of, I'm making the world a better place, or I'm helping people do something, achieve something,
Yes.
that's important to them, and that if you can see yourself as a vehicle for that, that's rewarding.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people who want to be self-employed, who really ache to be, have an entrepreneurial bent of mind, they are naturally square pegs because they do want to dance to their own drum beat, and they do want to
Yes.
live life on their own terms. And that's what,
Yeah.
we're all about in the Fractional Referral Network. And I remember back, a million years ago when I was first started teaching English to adult immigrants, one of my very first careers out of university. And I remember thinking, I'm going to work today and I'm making the world a better place. Look at all the people I'm helping. I'm teaching them English so they can change their lives. And that feeling used to light me on fire. Every morning I'd be going to work with that feeling in my heart. And then, many years later, I ended up taking a part-time job. I was living in a small town. I was trying to work for myself. COVID happened. Everything was all screwed up. I ended up working in a grocery store in the deli department because I'm a foodie. And I thought, okay, I can do a part-time deli job just to kind of help make ends meet or whatever, get myself around the people and so on.
Yeah.
I was so isolated there. And then COVID happened, and I ended up being the person who was disinfecting shopping carts. Now, I'm a university. I have a university degree, and it certainly was a humbling experience. If I looked at it that way, I would want to kill myself. So I took that, and I said, I'm making the world a better place. I'm keeping people free from germs, and I'm helping the world be COVID free, and I'm doing my part.
Yeah.
And I took that attitude into a job that felt demeaning, that could have felt demeaning. It didn't feel demeaning to me, but it could have felt demeaning. I mean, it was certainly a fall from grace. But
Well,
but sometimes we have to do those kinds of things.
It goes to, I think that goes to who you are, is that, you see the bigger picture.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we have to, step back and look at that bigger picture, because if we saw it, so, like you said, if you're looking up close at that job, well, that's not the best job, you've ever had.
Wasn't my dream
And,
job.
and so I think that's something that some people, if they're miserable or whatever, it's like, okay, well, find something in it.
Yes.
If you're stuck there for now,
Yeah.
Find something in it so that you aren't making yourself miserable, because it really is a mindset.
Yes.
And I think that's the piece of being an entrepreneur and a business owner that we sometimes forget.
Happiness is
sometimes
a
we
choice.
get too close and we get too mired in all those details.
Yeah.
And then if we just take a breath, step back, feel the gratitude, and figure out, okay, well, is this really the direction I want to go in, or is this a moment and I just need to be in it and do the work and do the thing and then move on?
And that's it. Exactly. And that's the way I looked at it. It wasn't like that was my life sentence. This is what my life has become. If you're going to, sit back and feel sorry for yourself for being in a difficult time. And I know there are many, I've come across, I talk to members all the time, and there are people in our community who are quite depressed over the state of affairs. They lost a job. Now they're doing the fractional thing, but they're not finding the work, and they're not, because they don't have those basic skills that they need, and they have to build them up and develop them. And, they just want everything to fall out of the sky and then they'll be happy, but it doesn't work that way. Things fall out of the sky after you decide to be happy. Life gets good. Happiness is a choice, and life gets good when you look for the blessings and stop focusing on the catastrophe. And, we've both had our share of catastrophes. We have, God knows, we could sit down and feel sorry for ourselves endlessly if we chose to. But life is for the living, and you got to move on, and you got to look for something greater and bigger. And you are the person who is responsible for your sense of well-being. You are the person who is ultimately responsible for your success. You are the reason that anything good or bad comes into your life. It's all perception and where your head is. So
Yes.
we have more control than we realize, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love that. And I think, and I believe that we've had many conversations outside of this as well. And I just like to say that, one of the things that my mom used to say when I was growing up, she had many cliches. And I used to just cringe every time she'd say them and roll my eyes. And then, but a few have stuck with me, and I told her about it recently. And one that stuck with me that is kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about is "This too shall pass."
Yeah.
And that one has stuck with me, and I think it gets even more. I get more clarity over the years, and I'm in the space now where it's like, I wrote something recently on on my private social media about I can do hard shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say the not
The
so
S
pretty
word.
word because it just sometimes, I'm building this business and, I keep getting challenges and challenges and challenges that come my way. And I can do the hard stuff. I can do the
Yeah.
hard work. I don't
Yes.
want to, but I have to just get it done. There are things that I've got to just do. And what helps keep my perspective is I have a choice to do other things that light my life. And I have this stuff that I have to deal with. And I can either be, upset, cry, whatever emotion you want to insert there, or I can pull up my bootstraps and say, okay, let's get it done. And then I can move past this and then go on to do the other pieces of life that I love.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important even in the hard work. It's part of the bigger picture. It's part of the ultimate goal. Sometimes we have to do some things that we don't love to do, but they're part of how we have to get to where we need to go.
Yeah.
And if you can find joy in that, and it goes back to making the world a better place, or
Yes.
what's your grand vision? So for me, I guess what Simon Sinek calls your why, and
Yes.
my why is to help keep Fractional self-employed, because I know what it feels like to be surrounded by people who don't share my vision and my desire for success and my willingness, my eagerness to live life on my own terms. And
Yes.
so this community gives us a group of people who want to live life on their own terms, who want to be surrounded by people who get them and who understand that the desire to be self-employed is a form of empowerment,
Yes.
and you need to
Mm-hmm.
be around people who understand that and who are excited for your success and are happy to push you forward and are happy to share their wins and are happy to give you referrals and so on and so forth. And these are the kinds of things I want to see really flowing in the community. And that my why is because in a bit of me, I guess, is in all of those people.
Yes. Right?
Right?
I mean, we've had so many iterations over our life. I think,
Yeah.
that we can see ourselves in many of those, because we've now had so many years of, well, I didn't do so well in that period, and now I'm doing
Yeah.
better today. And so it's that teacher or that mentor. I've had business education as well. So, and when you talked about education, one of the things was I volunteered at we have a local food bank here. And at the time I was volunteering in their computer literacy lab. And these people didn't even know what a mouse was. They didn't
Yeah.
know anything. I mean, didn't even know how to turn a computer on. That first day I left and I cried. I literally cried. It was the most enriching, just helping other people
Yeah.
so they didn't have to feel alone. They didn't have to feel stupid, whatever
Yeah.
it was. They didn't have to feel bad. And one woman gave me a hug. Now we're virtual, but I know that if we lived, or even got to visit each other,
Oh,
we'd certainly,
maybe in each other's faces all the time.
exactly. And I think that's one thing about this community, even though we're virtual, you know, you and I have never met,
Yeah.
and yet we just have such a great friendship.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that has been, you know, part of this group that I think is just amazing is that when we do actually, you know, take the time, take a few moments and make those connections can lead to, you never know. You
Yeah.
just don't know where it's going to go. But I
That's right.
know that it's going to enrich everybody if
Yeah.
they just take a moment to, you know, make a connection without
Yeah.
receiving, if that
That's it.
makes sense. It's like, let me
Yes.
just,
There's no
you know, show up
expectation of
and
getting anything from anybody. Just say hello, reach
yeah,
out, value first. I
yes,
love like that. And I haven't read the Go Giver book, but I suspect that it's a value first mentality, right?
yes,
So
100%.
what are you giving to people? And
Yeah,
never mind what you're getting. It comes back in ways you can't imagine. You know, when you help people succeed, somehow, some way, it all comes around to you. And you know, quit standing on the side of the road with your hand out, waiting for someone to drop a quarter in it because you showed up.
yeah.
You know, that's not how it works. So anyway, having said that, our time is up, my sweet, and
Yes,
I'm
all
going to
good.
I'm going to hope that I didn't screw up this video.
All right.
So I'm going to stop the
I'll
recording
be
and
the
then I will
test.
export it and I will be in touch. So thank you so much,
Okay.
Michelle.
You're
There.
welcome. I hope you have a great